From BQE Restaurant and Lounge in the heart of Atlanta's historic Martin Luther King District, it's Newsmakers Live, bringing you the issues, politics, and perspective of the Atlanta community. Now in its 10th season, here is tonight's moderator and your host, 8-time Emmy Award-winning broadcast journalist, Mr. Maynard Eaton.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being back for round two, if you will, of Newsmakers Live. There are 9 people running for mayor of Atlanta. My serious candidates, anyway. There's a top tier of them, and this gentleman's sort of in that top tier. We like Councilman Hall because he's our councilman. He represents the old 4th Ward, where Newsmakers Live is being produced from right now. He's a young, dynamic man who's making a mark for himself and is an odds-on, spot-on kind of guy to be Atlanta's next mayor. Kwanza, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
It's good to be here.
What about this tight race? Is this a tight race? Is this with all the different candidates, is this too tight to call, too close to call yet? Or how are you feeling about it? It's getting testy.
I'm excited, and I remain confident about what we have to offer in terms of track record and actual deliverables and a better vision than others in the race for the future of the city based on that ability to actually get things done here in District 2 for the last 15 years as a school board member and as a city councilman. It may be a little testy between various camps for whatever reasons, but I don't let that derail what I'm trying to do as a candidate for mayor.
That feud between Cesar Mitchell and the mayor hurt or help people like yourself?
Well, I mean, it might open the doorway even wider for us, and we kind of had a feeling that things might be going in that direction. And, I don't really look forward to seeing people in that posture, but it does happen in life. And, I'm known as a person who helps people to reconcile and to mediate and bring people together. We formed a group to stop the violence when I was growing up. So, resolving conflict is something that I've really worked on, and even in difficult situations and dealing with colleagues or the mayor or other elected officials outside of the city, I've generally had a track record for not having that posture. Even if we're in a disagreement position, there's a way that you can still work behind the scenes and present a much better image to the community. And especially when we have the times that we're living in at the national level, and there's just so much contention out here. We shouldn't be doing it at the local level if we can avoid it. But people throw stones, and you just never know who threw the first rock. But I hope that at the end of this year and this term, we can end that tension for sure. And I'll definitely commit to bringing people together. I think my candidacy is about unification of our city as opposed to seeing division. I'm not running representing Buckhead Buckhead establishment or Buckhead business or Southwest Atlanta establishment or current administration team or LGBT team or the anti-establishment.
It seems to me everybody, it's a blood sport, but everybody seems to have their lane.
Yeah, everybody's running from one camp type of thing. I'm running for everybody. You know what I'm saying? I want to be known as a leader like I've led here in this district who unifies a diverse group of citizens. We have a great African-American legacy in this city that still needs to be honored and lifted up. We haven't done everything right. Look at Auburn Avenue and Edgewood. We've been making change happen, but we need to use the full force of the mayor's office to really deliver on honoring that legacy. But we have legacy neighborhoods throughout our city, like Collier Heights and other places, that we really have to respect and honor. And then we have new people who move to our city who come from all over the world, different walks of life, different backgrounds, different ethnicities, and we need to be welcoming and inclusive of them and allow them to be a part of this new melting pot in our city and put it all together to make it an even greater place than it already is.
I've been told, and I believe that your campaign is really resonating and echoing amongst new people we just mentioned, young people, millennials and 30 and 40-year-olds, but also amongst civil rights leaders. Just last week, you led a nice news conference to salute the mural of Reverend Hosea Williams, who your father worked closely with. So it seems like you're on both sides of the spectrum, the seniors and the young people. Or am I mistaken here?
Yeah, no, I think that's true. I mean, I have not run at large, and I think there is a fallacy that you have to run at large to win the mayor's race. But actually, the last 3 mayors were not elected at large. Mayor Reed lived outside of the city, and he was annexed in, so no one had ever voted for him in the city. Mayor Franklin was not an elected official, and Bill Campbell represented Council District 2. So there was it's not a foregone conclusion that because a person runs at large and they've already been known in all these areas, sometimes you know people too well. And then you have to ask the question, what have they done in the areas they live in? What have they done for your community that's real and tangible, that you can say, now that's the kind of person that I know I can count on to actually get things done. Not they talk a good game, or they can, they're great orators and they can just do the whole vision stuff. But we're used to dealing with elected officials, politicians who really just play that game on us. And I don't think the city can tolerate any more of that. And especially in these times, we have a permanent underclass in this city, right. More than 150,000 people. Almost a third of our city is living in the margin. How is that possible? And they're mostly African American. That's not right.
And a city's been run by black elected officials.
Yeah, we can do better.
We can definitely do better. But I've heard the angst about black elected officials, and they haven't done enough. That the bluff still looks the same. Or Auburn Avenue has. I mean, you hear the complaints about, maybe not against you because you're a young, dynamic leader, but they say in the past, the Reeds and others have not done that much. Yeah. And as you well know, the issues come up. Have we seen our last black mayor as a result of criticism like that?
Well, first let me say this. Atlanta doesn't need a white mayor, black mayor, gay mayor, or straight mayor. Atlanta needs a great mayor. A mayor with a track record for getting things done. I believe I'm that person. Okay? And I just happen to be African American, but I represent a district that's 17% black right now. And I've represented this area for a long time. But, delivering customer service, I know how to do that because I have very demanding constituents. I was just over on Fairburn Road at 166 in Fairburn, and I was talking to the seniors in Heritage Valley. What they talked about was, why don't we have any amenities? Right. Why don't we have any services? Why don't we have the restaurants and the shops that we see everywhere else? Campbellton Road used to be a pride in George Street. Martin Luther King had more restaurants and shops. Hollowell, Boone, all of our Cascade, all of these streets should really be places that we have all the amenities that you have on the east side of town, that you have on the north side of town, because we have some of the most talented, well-connected, influential, and wealthy African Americans who live in these neighborhoods.
But
and even if you're not wealthy, you deserve to have those same amenities, and that's what I'm proposing. I know how to do it on this side of town. We can do it on that side of town, because I'm not talking about what I will do. Look at West End. What's it look like? Look at Cascade and 285. How many restaurants do we have there? And how much power sits in those corridors and has been living in those corridors that has not delivered those particular things. Now, I don't knock people, because sometimes it looks easy to do the hard work of an elected official. I've been a legislator. To be in the mayor's seat, it definitely takes a toll, and it requires a lot of attention to things that may not even be on the table to the public. So I have to always kind of caution anyone knocking mayors, because mayors go in office with certain things they plan to do. Just me as mayor, I plan to do those things, and not to put my focus on stadiums, and I won't have to worry about stadiums because we already got them all done. I won't have to worry about those kind of things. Those won't be my projects. Now, transportation is an important project, and the extension of the Beltline, and making sure that it's not a displacement tool that any further than what it's doing in the West End and Westview areas, but making it where people actually have buses that get them where they want to go, and neighborhood circulators to the retail establishments that you need to access. That's not afforded to us right now. A lot of neighborhoods, the routes that even the bus used to run on, I used to ride MARTA all over the city when I was growing up. So the routes of the 83 and the 81 and 71 and all those kind of 64, all those buses, they go places that people don't really go anymore. So we also need to adjust them around the new customer, or the old customer who now is living a different way. And that's the kind of stuff we can do. And then affordable housing, of course, is in that as well.
How have you done that here? This was once a blighted area. One of our good friends who died trying to revive this area would now be ecstatic to see what's happened.
Yes, Marie Kowser.
Kowser.
Yeah.
But But it's also now become unaffordable for many of us.
Yeah.
I mean, so is it gotten too good?
Well, I try to explain this to everybody because it is expensive in the old Fourth Ward. But when you look at how it actually happened, we had a plan with a non-displacement strategy built in back in 2007, 8, 9. The market changed at that time. When the market changed, the property owners who committed to doing affordable lost their properties. In some cases, other people bought them and the banks bought them. And then some of those groups lost their property. So when you're at the third and fourth generation investor, they're only in it for getting it for cents on the dollar and making a profit. And they weren't even necessarily from Atlanta. They just buying, oh, it looks good, let's go buy it. And they bought and they started building. But in 09, nothing was moving. So people were happy to see development occur. The good thing about our master plan is it gave everyone who wanted to invest a roadmap on how they could do things. And every neighborhood in my district has a plan. A lot of other neighborhoods in the rest of the city don't have plans in the same sense until just recently. So there has been a big plan done. But now let me tell you what our big plan was for affordability. We never pushed people out of Bedford Pines. Bedford Pines still has affordable housing, very low income housing at that. And there's $800 million houses right on the same block across the street. So we're causing people to have to coexist and live together. It never used to be like that in this city. Now we're forcing that. The plan for Boulevard from Freedom Parkway to Ponce de Leon is to bring an additional 1,400 units that would be in a variety of price points. So the families and children in Bedford Pines pay $12 a month in rent. Average income is $3,000 a year. But in the other places where you see vacant property and places where we can build, we're going to build units that will be at 700, 800, 900, 1,100. So price points that kind of work for a different affordability matrix.
So affordability is not just a pie in the sky.
No, affordability.
It's not something that can't happen.
No, it can happen. And we just did it. We just created 87 units on Boulevard for seniors.
But people are very
permanent
concerned
affordable
about
unit.
that.
And they should be. And we should be holding everybody accountable. Where we're really losing is the property has to be a part of the deal, and the city needs to own this land so that we can make that the way you justify the affordability. You can't just do a deal and say, hey, developer, you own this property, go build on it and build some affordable units for everybody else. Wait a minute, he's like, I'm using my money, I'm calling the bank, I'm not able to sleep at night, and I got to build it on time. And then put who in there? People who won't pay the price I need to make my numbers work. But if the city owns the land, then we can say, okay, we own this land. We're going to put in a deal. You build what we want on it. We need 400 units at this price point. We need 200 units at that price point. And we need another 500 units at that price point. We have 11 former Atlanta Housing Authority properties that have not been redeveloped. Bowen Homes, Bankhead Court, Hollywood, what else? Carver Homes still has pieces there. Jonesboro North and South. Herndon Homes just started. So we got all these properties that had 20, 30,000 people living on them. So we need to generate all those units back so people can live there.
As mayor,
I'm going to do it. I've already said it, but let me tell you just about these corridors. So DeKalb Avenue, Edgewood, and Auburn Avenue, and Irwin Street. So there's always been a plan, and you can go look on the books, to take as much of the vacant land, and you see Wheat Street Gardens is vacant, to take all of that land and bring 2,000 to 3,000 to 4,000 units of affordable in that corridor. Because it's near the train station. So when you look at M.L. King Station, the land across the street where the new natatorium is going, that land was supposed to be a part of it in partnership with Integral and Auburn Glen and the Housing Authority. So my vision was always to do that. But as a council member, you really don't control the show. Okay, it's called Strong Mayor, Weak Council, and then there was a lawsuit between the school system and the city and the Beltline. So when all that happened, we have $70 million, maybe $80 million in the East Side Tax Allocation District. And I've always proposed that we would use every piece of land in Wheat Street Gardens, the Butler Y property here, to provide for a mixed income community that will revitalize the entire King corridor. So it's something we're really, really proud of. So that's the plan. We've got the sites, even at the Sweet Auburn Market.
Still gonna happen?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I mean, I don't know why it hasn't happened up till now, because really this is controlled at the executive level. And I think Mayor Reed's gonna leave it to me. Not that he's told me that, but I feel like I know how to get it done in a way that no one else has done it before. No one else has delivered a lot of affordable units, or any kind of units for that matter. If you think about it, who in this race has even talked about and shown you a project that they actually have had a hand in?
Councilman Hall, Mayor Reed's getting beat up by the AJC, and Bill Torp in particular.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on his job? What kind of job has the Mayor Reed done?
I mean, I have to say, I think, it's a hard job, y'all. And I didn't know how hard it was until, I started really looking behind the scenes at why decisions were made and what was the complexity around a decision. But I have to give him a high rating on getting things done. He has delivered a lot of things. And they're not all things that we necessarily I would put as an absolute priority, but he had to play the hand that he was dealt. And he plays his cards a certain way. If you play spades, not everybody plays the same card or chooses to play it that way. And it can mean winning, or it can mean winning big, or it can mean losing. I think he has won in this, but the neighborhood revitalization and neighborhood development strategy around affordability has not been on the table as much. Some of it had to do with the economy, and some of it had to do with priorities. More of it probably is based on priorities, but otherwise he's done a lot of great things. We got more than 10,000 new jobs in my district alone, high-paying jobs. We've recruited all kinds of companies to be here. Atlanta is continuing to rise and is going in the right direction, but we need to make sure that everybody else who's not rising gets a chance to rise this time. That's really what's missing. I say Atlanta's been great at building buildings. Absolutely. I've said it. Atlanta's been great at building buildings, but not good at building and including our people. And mostly, those are our people who are in the margins. Families and children need to be put first. That's the only thing. We got the cart a little bit ahead of the horse. And if we can just shift that, this city becomes a livable city for everybody. If you work as a bartender here and you're a student, if you're an empty nester and you just need a place to stay, if you're a newly married couple, it should be a city that everybody can find a place. So that means we got to create more housing so that the price points will drop. We have to put more supply on the market. And if we have a downturn in this economy, I will have the city buying every piece of property we can buy so that we can convert it to affordable for generations.
Scared in this town. Scared.
They should be scared. I'm scared too. I'm scared. I mean, I look at what's happened in West End and Westview. Man, we got to do a wholesale, rapid amount of units immediately. Now, to the mayor's credit, there's been 500 units in this corridor in the last 2 months that have been announced. So we've got the units at the ML King train station. We got some units actually at Peachtree Center. There's some units at Underground that are affordable. And then there's another parcel here. So there have been affordable units created, but that's not enough. We need like 500 a month. And that's going to be the pace that I try to set so we can catch up. And some of it is property. We have 400 acres of former Atlanta Housing Authority properties. And then you have vacant property around it. So think about when you close a housing property down, you end up losing all the people who shopped in the grocery stores around there. And then you know what? The store closes. And then that store closes. And you end up with maybe just a gas station like on former Bankhead Hollowell and a couple of little stores. It's not what it used to be like. It's not what it used to be like. Those streets used to be bustling commerce zones. Now it's not, because you had enough people to spend.
Voters too.
These are real voters. So people have been left in blight and left in very painful situations in terms of longtime residents, seniors who remember how good it was just before the economic downturn in a lot of neighborhoods. It was nice in neighborhoods around Collier Heights and over on the west side. They were nicer neighborhoods just before 2008 and 9. We've got 5,000 empty houses on the west side, empty apartments that people could be living in. Homeless individuals could be living in them to keep them, keep them up and clean up the neighborhood around them. You could have families and children. Once you make it a little bit more livable, put families and children in them. I mean, this is wrong. Really, it's like wealth of the wicked is being held up, and we're not giving it back to the people. And I don't want to ever have that on my hands. So I'm going to give it all back to the people to it belongs to.
What? You were sitting pretty. I mean, you probably the councilman of the District 2, the leading city council district in the city. You could have been there for years. Why run for mayor?
Well, I mean, I can't really do the stuff that must be done for our city. If there was someone else in this race that I believe was the right person to do it, I would let them do it.
Really?
Yeah, but there hasn't been anyone that I've seen. They don't have a track record for doing it. Look at the neighborhoods they live in. I'm not joking, I'm for real. Or look, if they live in another neighborhood and it's nice, then you have to ask the question, what do they know about our neighborhood and our condition? For real. I mean, I grew up off of Campbellton Road, near Venetian. I saw my mother and my father struggle. We lived on Deal Avenue. We lived on Delmar. I mean, I've seen all of that. We need a mayor who really is going to be in touch and on the ground and help to bring our spirit back up. Because these people feel like we're not in Atlanta no more. Atlanta don't love me no more. A lot of people feel that way, but I don't want us to be confused by folks who come kind of shiny in your face and tell you a good story, but they don't have anything to stand on.
There's no skin in the game.
What have you actually done? Go ride around where they live and see if there's anything that looks nice to you. And if it's what you want, then you get it. How many grocery stores, how many restaurants do we have at Cascade and 285?
2.
What's it feel like when you're in the West End? It feels great in Buckhead. Yeah. So, I mean, you just got to compare that and really ask. It's hard to say this because we've gotten caught up in the whole hype of the media, and people are inundating us with emails and signs and make you feel like, and people we like, they're not bad people. But do you really want them to be the one that you turn over the reins of this city to? I'm not doing it for the power. I'm not doing it for the shine. I don't need to be famous. I don't even like doing big speeches. I like to get stuff done. I was about to curse. I'm sorry. I like to get shit done. Excuse my language. And I do it. People know if you call my office, it gets done. People call us too much. My staff gets mad because they call from every other district.
But you're everywhere, though. You can't even.
I mean, but if you're known for solving problems, what happens? People give you more problems to solve. And it's big people and little people. Now, it's easy for us to kind of get caught up in human nature. Human nature says, this is kind of what I want it to be. And because we have so many choices, it's hard to deduce down, well, I thought that was the natural path that somebody would go. We've never had a council president to become mayor. Right. So why are we kidding ourselves? And then, they're fighting like crazy. But if they wanted to really be in that position, they would have never, ever picked that fight. That's not the fight you pick. You know what I'm saying?
You don't pick a fight with the man.
Why do you want to pick that kind of fight? I mean, I think that's the wrong position to be in, wrong posture, especially if we're about uplifting. We're trying to uplift in spite of difficulty. I've been in a lot of difficult situations and a lot of positions when me and the mayor didn't agree. But you've never really seen us fighting about anything. If we didn't agree, we might not be speaking.
Yeah, you came close one time.
Yeah, but we weren't fighting about it. And I think there's a lot of people in the race who are just running against him and his personality. Really against his personality far more than his record. But it's about his personality, and they don't like that. And now that I'm just mad, so I've been sitting around for the last few years, or I've been fighting it for the last couple of years. Now it's my turn to go at it and try to get it because I didn't have a way to have a conversation with him. I mean, he has a different personality. I think I bring a warmer, a gentler approach to human engagement. I'm an extroverted person. So we need that person who's going to let everybody touch them, be down in the trenches, and still know how to get it done. We're going to hire some great operators, make sure people continue who know how to do a good job now. We still got a lot of people just working up in the city who might not be committed to customer service. I think the city doesn't know who its customer is, and that's in every touch point. So affordability to when the streets aren't fixed and you wonder, why is this not working in my neighborhood? Why is the trash still out there after a month and a half of rubbish on the street? Some of those things we should be able to fix, but that means everybody in the organization needs to be committed to that philosophy in service. Just like in a restaurant, if they don't come pick up your plate fast enough, how do you feel? Right? You don't go back. Or if they don't bring your food fast enough, that should be the experience in the city. You should have a way to press that button and say it didn't happen.
So you're saying this anti-Reed sentiment, this anti-Reed rage is counterproductive? It's going to fail?
I think it's counterproductive. I mean, I'm running for Atlanta, not against him.
Others are.
Yeah, I think they're just running against him. They're mad at his personality. They don't really have a track record to stand on. Good people, but don't have a track record. And then there's some who have actually done some things, but let's look at the reality of our city. And if people weren't able to do the things in the darkest parts of our city, when they had the ability to do it, why would you believe that they will do it going forward? I mean, look, y'all, there's a lot of games being played. It's a lot of people who want to have control over the contracts out at the city airport. It's people who want to have control over the big transportation spend. I mean, that's what all the big players, that's what they're really talking about.
There's a lot of money.
They want to have control, keep control, or have control. I'm not about, I want the people to control it. You know, some people say it's one person's turn because whatever, they didn't run last time. They're like, Buckhead people say, well, it's my person's turn because they almost won. I'm like, what are y'all talking about? Somebody's turn. Who keeps the time for me? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Can y'all tell me I want to jump the line because I want to make it the people's turn? You know what I'm saying?
That was the case back in the day.
Yeah, it used to be, but think about it, we're passing it to people just because we think they're supposed to have it. It's entitlement. Right. We have too much entitlement in this city, too many cliques. I can do a whole roll call on every one of them. But I'm not trying to bash people. I'm just saying this is the truth that somebody has to say so that we can get out of this funk and fog and confusion about who should be the next mayor.
Will this City Hall bribery investigation blow up?
Well, I mean,
will it taint City Hall or taint some of those in the race?
Wherever there's a lot of money, there's going to be some kind of corruption. Look at all those corporations. The only difference is, I mean, if people are doing wrong, you need to find it out and root them out. Get them out of there and put in controls that'll prevent it from happening again. That's just a standard policy of what you do. There are a couple of people, there's still some ongoing investigations. I hope that they prove not to be as bad as what it sounded like. You know, there's a lot of people talking about it's going to happen this week and all that. Haven't heard that, but you know, these federal investigations or even local investigations sometimes go longer. I've generally seen whenever anything has come up, it's been dealt with. Under previous administrations, the same thing. Some of that stuff happens. If you were working at Coca-Cola, it's stuff like that, and graft, and people do all kinds of special procurement deals with their friends. You just don't hear about it because they're public companies.
Right.
Am I lying? I mean, anybody in this house, y'all, am I lying? I mean, it happens to every corporation in America. They just call it banking fraud and white-collar crime and all that stuff. So, I mean, it does happen. There does happen to be a greater number of African Americans in this organization. It wasn't only an African American who was cited on one of those situations, but that does cause a little bit more attention. I think we are living in a society that still has implicit biases and has racial undertones about people in leadership and about people in control of budgets. And there's some people who've been fighting for a white leader to come back in control of our city for a long time. And then there's some people saying we got to keep a black mayor. I'm not really with either one of those. But I do know it's out there. And we have to accept that that's the truth in this city. There are some people who say we got to have a white mayor.
Do we have to have marijuana legislation passed?
We do.
That's your thing.
I'm pushing that. So tomorrow there will be a council vote in public safety committee to make marijuana a non-jailable offense if you have less than an ounce in your possession. There's a lot of young people, in particular in our city, talented individuals over at the AU Center, Clark, Morehouse, Morris Brown, Georgia State, former Morris Brown, Georgia State, who were penalized because they had possession of less than an ounce. And we've seen that be the gateway for people going into the criminal justice system. And especially if you're living in the margins, that's a part of the mass incarceration. In this city, we should change that immediately. So I'm asking for you all to reach out to my colleagues and let them know. I think we've got some who are already supporting. On Friday, we're going to also have a rally. And then on the following Monday, next Monday, we're going to take a vote with the full council. So I need you to let your council members know that you support this, because I think it's a good thing. We passed a lot of other pieces of criminal justice reform, ban in the box on felons who want to re-enter the workforce, coming to work at the city. We passed that, then the governor ended up passing it. Companies like UPS and Coca-Cola have been supportive of that. We've also worked on a pre-arrest diversion program. So a lot of times in cities like Atlanta, homeless individuals, people suffering from mental illness, people dealing with substance abuse, people just disconnected and depressed or sleeping on the street get arrested. Are they supposed to be in jail?
Right.
They need supportive services. And at one point, more than half of the people in our jail were African-American men who were dealing with small, petty crimes. We removed 40 of those crimes from our books.
Is this resonating with your supporters? Is this something in your campaign is saying this is an idea whose time has come and people are gravitating toward it?
I think so, yes. You know, I'm not one to play the extra hype and PR and brag game. I like to just do stuff because it's the right thing to do. And that means you don't always like toot your own horn. And then there's some people who might have done one thing in the last 10 years and they talk about it every day. You know, I've forgotten more things we've done than some people have done in the whole time they've been around. For real. And I can't remember all the stuff we do because all the little calls when a restaurant, every one of these restaurants that y'all might love going to, these bars, these lounges that you like going to, I promise you, they have called me and asked me to do something to help them to open up, to stay open, to help them to grow their businesses, or if it's other types. I mean, people call us so much. And we consider it to be classic service. It's not because I have the power. As soon as you have a problem, let me fix it. Like, that was so fast. I don't think it works like that in government. You fixed it too fast, Kwanza. And I think that's what you really need in a leader, a person who's not caught up in the power of the position, but really wants to give the people the power so that you know that the service is yours because you've already paid for it with your taxes.
I have to ask you, speaking of power, should you become our next mayor, and your wife becomes a Fulton County Commissioner, that would be a power couple, would it not?
Yeah, I mean, both of us have been, it would be what people would call a power couple. I say she's my campaign bae, and she's in the room. I said campaign bae, y'all. But hey, baby, I really think that, both of us come from families that have always been in service. So she didn't plan to run for this. It was her boss, late Commissioner Joan Garner, passed away. And the county didn't have any rules around, the rule around employees who worked in offices of elected officials when they pass away is that you have to leave the office. So we've basically been without a commissioner for the last 6 months. I thought they were going to do an early election. They didn't. So, it makes sense for her to do it. She never wanted to be elected, but I think this is a good thing for her. And I think both of us working together would probably unify the city. As you've seen school board fighting, city fighting, county fighting city. Maybe this is a new way because, I can't go home and have my wife mad at me about something that the city and the county is not talking about because I might not get to eat, might not get in the house. So this could be, you'd have more power, actually. The citizens would, because they could just say, let's call Natalie and we can get it done. You know what I'm saying? So I think it'll be a good thing. And we work well together and we know how to kind of separate our lines. We don't bring all the work home. You want to be at home, I might be cooking and we just have a good time and just talk and not talk about work. So you got to be able to decompress and release all that stuff. But we both come from service backgrounds, so it's pretty easy. It's like husband and wife being cops, or both being in sports, or both being, in the gym all the time. That's what people do. You both are in PR and media, right? I mean, it can be a little testing when whoever, who knows it best. But other than that, it's usually very complimentary.
The best of luck to you, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
The mayor of the 4th Ward is nothing else.
There you go.
Soon the mayor of the city.
Mayor of Atlanta. Thank you.
Now, let me introduce him correctly. The grand poobah of the old 4th Ward. The winner of so many awards for his last word. My friend, my partner, the great Jim Welcome, who's back. He took a week off just to lay around last week, but he's back now.
Well, thank you, man. Coming from you, yes, I'll accept that. It's about the message because I never got it. That when I listen to Councilman Hall, because he happens to be one of my favorite guys, the things that he's done in the 4th Ward, which I've lived in for the last 20 years, has been amazing. If he could duplicate that when he's elected mayor of the city of Atlanta, then we certainly have someone that the people could truly consider their representative. I'll take one issue with Kwanza when it comes to our city mayor, because our city mayor does not work and play well with other black men. And I think we keep letting him get away with it for the sake of not being in public arguments. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Newsmakers.